In this GlowShift Gauges installation video, we'll be showing you how to install a GlowShift 7-Color Series diesel gauge package into your new body style 2007 to 2013 Duramax. When you're ready, grab your tools and we'll meet you in the garage. For the purpose of this install, we'll be using a new body style 2007 Duramax 6.6 liter with an LMM engine to install our gauge package. The additional accessories featured in this install will make installation easier and can be purchased through our website. Start by unboxing your gauges and their accessories. For safety, disconnect the negative battery terminal before starting any work on the vehicle. Remove the air intake to gain access to the intake manifold. To prevent any metal shavings from falling into the engine, we'll be removing a portion of the intake manifold to install the boost line fitting. Once the intake manifold has been removed, mark the location for drilling with a punch. Starting with a small drill bit, drill a hole in the manifold, increasing the bit size until a size R is reached. Use a 1/8-27 MPT tap to thread the hole. Clean up any metal shavings that may have fallen into the manifold. Apply Teflon tape to the boost line adapter and thread it into the hole using an 11mm wrench to tighten. Reinstall the intake manifold onto the engine. Place the female brass fitting onto one end of the boost line, followed by the brass ferrule fitting. Ensure the ferrule fitting is facing upwards to prevent any leaks. Connect it to the boost line adapter and tighten using a 10mm wrench. To install the EGT sensor, start by removing the passenger side wheel well liner. Use a punch to mark the location on the exhaust manifold where the probe will be installed. Starting with a small drill bit, drill a hole in the manifold, increasing the bit size until the size R is reached. Use a pen magnet to remove any metal shavings that may have fallen into the manifold. Use a 1/8-27 MPT tap to thread the hull and clean up any metal shavings. Apply anti-seize to the EGT sensor adapter. Attach it to the manifold and tighten using a 14mm wrench. Insert the exhaust temperature probe into the bolt. Ensure that the depth of the probe is approximately halfway into the manifold and tighten. Route the sensor wire to the top of the engine bay and be sure to keep clear of any moving parts. Attach the braided EGT gauge harness wire to the EGT sensor harness wire. Reinstall the wheel well liner. To install the transmission temperature sensor, apply Teflon tape to the sensor and place it into the transmission sensor adapter and tighten. Remove the transmission bolt next to the filter and place the adapter into the port. Be sure to use a drain pan to catch any fluid that may drain from the transmission. Tighten using a 14mm wrench. Attach the female silver connector and the longer rubber cover to one end of the green wire from the gauge wiring harness and connect to the white wire from the sensor. Then, attach the male silver connector and short rubber cover to the end of the black wire from the gauge wiring harness and connect to the black wire from the sensor. Run both wires to the engine bay, making sure to secure them out of the way of any moving parts. If you purchased a gauge package that includes a fuel pressure gauge instead of a transmission temperature gauge, you'll need to ensure the vehicle has an aftermarket lift pump installed before starting installation. On the lift pump assembly, remove the bolt from the fuel pressure sensor port. Thread the sensor into the port and tighten. Connect the sensor harness to the sensor and secure the wire away from moving parts. Run the sensor harness wire to the engine bay. Once all of the sensors have been installed, run all the sensor wires through the engine bay to the driver's side firewall. Be sure to keep the wires clear of any moving parts. Attach a ring terminal to the black ground wire from the transmission temperature sensor and connect it to a reliable grounding source in the engine bay. Use an open grommet to run all the wires through the firewall and into the cabin of the vehicle. If you do not have an open grommet, carefully make a hole in an existing grommet and feed the wires into the cabin. Once all the wires have been pulled through into the cabin, reinstall the air intake and tighten. Remove the factory A-pillar from the truck. To wire the gauges to the pod, start by removing the speaker from the factory pillar. Place the speaker into the new pod and attach the speaker cover. Feed the wires from the boost gauge through the pod and insert the gauge into the cup. Next, feed the wiring harness for the EGT and transmission temperature gauges through the pod and place each gauge into the cups. Using the yellow wire from the wiring harness, connect all of the yellow wires together. Using the red wire from the wiring harness, connect all of the red wires together. Using the orange wire from the wiring harness, connect all of the orange wires together. Using the black wire from the wiring harness, connect all of the black wires together. Use zip ties to clean up the wires. To connect the boost line to the back of the boost gauge, start by applying Teflon tape to the brass fitting on the back of the gauge. Place the brass bolt adapter onto the fitting and tighten using a 13mm wrench. Run the black boost line from the gauge pod and place the brass nut over the line, followed by the brass ferrule fitting. Ensure the ferrule fitting is facing upward to prevent any leaks. Place the boost line into the adapter and tighten the nut onto the gauge. Place the gauge back into the pod if it was removed. Insert the braided EGT sensor wire into the EGT gauge and reconnect the speaker wires. Place the pod onto the pillar and use the screw to secure the pod. Locate a clean, reliable grounding source and attach the ring terminal on the black wire from the gauge pod. Using a wire connector, connect the green wire from the transmission temperature sensor to the green wire from the connector on the gauge. You'll need to run the remaining power wires through the firewall and into the engine bay. Route the wires to the fuse box location and remove the fuse box cover. For this installation, we'll be powering the gauges using expandable circuits, which can be purchased through our website. Locate a fuse that receives constant 12-volt power. Remove the fuse and place it into the first expandable circuit. Connect the yellow wire from the gauge pod to the expandable circuit using the wire connector on the circuit and place the circuit into the fuse location. Locate a fuse that receives 12-volt power when the headlights are turned on. Remove the fuse and place it into the second expandable circuit. Connect the orange wire from the gauge pod to the expandable circuit using the wire connector on the circuit and place the circuit into the fuse location. Locate a fuse that receives 12-volt power when the ignition is turned on. Remove the fuse and place it into the third expandable circuit. Connect the red wire from the gauge pod to the expandable circuit using the wire connector on the circuit and place the circuit into the fuse location. Reconnect the negative terminal on the battery and verify that all wiring is correct. Power your gauges to ensure that everything is working properly by starting the vehicle. While the vehicle is running, cycle through the gears to help the transmission fluid completely circulate the transmission. Check the level of the transmission fluid and add any fluid necessary for the fluid to return to the designated level. You've now successfully installed your GlowShift diesel gauge package into your truck. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please contact us at 1-888-GS-GAUGE, and we'll see you on the road.